Hi there, Brian here. Welcome back to the Cash Flow Desk. Today we're talking about headcount planning, one of those things that separates growing businesses from ones that just wing it until they hit a wall. If you've ever found yourself scrambling to hire because someone quit unexpectedly, or wondering whether you can afford to bring on that next team member, this video is going to help you get ahead of those decisions. So what exactly is headcount planning? It's basically mapping out your hiring needs before you actually need to hire. Think of it as budgeting for people instead of just expenses. Good headcount planning looks at where your business is going, what roles you'll need to get there, and when you'll need to fill them. It's about being proactive instead of reactive. The difference is huge. Companies that plan their headcount can hire strategically and budget accurately. Companies that don't often end up either understaffed and burning out their team, or overstaffed and burning through cash. Here's where most businesses mess this up. They treat hiring like an emergency response. Someone leaves, panic sets in, and suddenly they're rushing to fill the gap. Or they hit a busy season and realize they needed 3 more people 2 months ago. Another common mistake is hiring based on feelings instead of data. Revenue looks good this month, so they assume they can afford another salesperson, but they haven't looked at whether that hire will actually pay for themselves. And then there's the opposite problem, being too conservative. Some businesses are so worried about cash flow that they wait until they're completely overwhelmed before adding anyone. By then, they've already lost opportunities and stressed out their existing team. The key is finding that sweet spot where you're hiring just ahead of need, not way behind it or way ahead of it. So, how do you actually build a headcount plan? Start with your business goals. If you're planning to grow revenue by 50% next year, what roles will you need to make that happen? More salespeople, customer support, operations staff? Look at your current team's capacity. Are people already stretched thin? Where are the bottlenecks? A SaaS company might realize their customer success team is maxed out at their current customer count, so they'll need to add people before they can take on more clients. Then map it to your cash flow. Each new hire has a fully loaded cost: salary, benefits, equipment, training time. Make sure you can afford not just the salary, but the whole package. And don't forget timing. If you're a retail business gearing up for the holidays, you need seasonal staff hired and trained well before November, not during it. The goal is to have a month-by-month view of who you need, when you need them, and what it's going to cost. There are a few key metrics that make headcount planning a lot easier. Revenue per employee is a big one. If your business generates $200,000 per employee annually, and you're planning to add $500,000 in revenue, you'll probably need about 2 to 3 new hires to support that growth. Another useful metric is time to productivity. How long does it take a new hire to become fully effective? For a sales role, it might be 3 to 6 months. For a technical role, maybe longer. Factor that ramp-up time into your planning. And watch your hiring ratios. A services business might need 1 project manager for every 5 consultants. An e-commerce company might need 1 customer service rep for every 1,000 orders per month. These ratios aren't perfect, but they give you benchmarks to work with instead of just guessing. Let's talk about the cash flow side, because this is where headcount planning gets real. Every new hire is a cash flow commitment. You're paying them before they're fully productive, and you're betting that their contribution will exceed their cost. A good rule of thumb is to have at least 3 to 6 months of payroll costs in reserve before making a key hire. This gives you buffer time if revenue doesn't grow as expected, or if the new hire takes longer to ramp up. Also think about the timing of cash versus expenses. If you're hiring a salesperson, you might pay them for 3 months before they close their first deal. Make sure your cash flow can handle that gap. And remember, hiring isn't just about salary. There's recruiting costs, onboarding time, equipment, benefits, and the opportunity cost of existing team members spending time training instead of doing their regular work. Here's how to make this practical for your business. Start simple. Create a spreadsheet with your current team, their costs, and your hiring timeline for the next 12 months. Include best case and worst case scenarios. Review it monthly. Business changes, and your headcount plan should change with it. Maybe a big client signed up ahead of schedule, or maybe a project got delayed. Adjust accordingly, and involve your team leads. They know better than anyone where the pressure points are and what skills you'll need. A good headcount plan isn't just a finance exercise. It's a collaborative effort. Most importantly, treat it as a living document. The goal isn't to predict the future perfectly. It's to think ahead so you're not constantly reacting to surprises. Here's the bottom line on headcount planning. It's not about having a perfect crystal ball. It's about being intentional with one of your biggest expenses, your team. Good headcount planning helps you hire strategically, manage cash flow better, and avoid the stress of constantly scrambling to fill gaps. Whether you're a 10-person startup or a 100-person company, taking the time to plan your hiring will pay off in smoother operations and better financial control. If this was helpful, hit like and subscribe, and drop a comment. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to hiring and team planning? Thanks for watching. I'm Brian, and I'll see you in the next one.